We are like the phoenix, rising again, with a new life ahead of us. Do not be afraid to start over.
Esperanza Rising by Pam Munoz Ryan. Esperanza Ortega possesses all the treasures a young girl could want. Fancy dresses, a beautiful home filled with servants in the bountiful region of Aguascalientes, Mexico, and the promise of one day rising to Mama's position and proceeding over all of El Rancho de las Rosas. But a sudden tragedy shatters that dream, forcing Esperanza and Mama to flee to California and settle in a Mexican farm labor camp. There, they confront the challenges of hard work, acceptance by their own people, economic difficulties, and their new social status. During the Great Depression, many Mexican Americans were treated unfairly and went through a great deal of poverty. They lived under many rough conditions that even poor Americans didn't have to live through.
Ay, my neck hurts, said Mama, as she massaged the back of her head with her hand. It is not my neck, it's my arms that are sore, said Hortensia. It is the same for everyone, said Josefina. When you first start in the sheds, the body refuses to bend, but in time, you will get used to the work.
Unemployment was a huge deal in the United States during this time and affected many people. The rate of unemployment was even higher for Mexican Americans. In 1933, the general unemployment rate in the United States was over 25%. At the same time, unemployment rates for various American minorities ranged up to 50% or more. Mexicans were competing for jobs against whites, so it made it even more complicated for them to have and keep a job.
Do you know how lucky we are, Esperanza? Many people come to this valley and wait months for a job. Juan went to a lot of trouble to make sure we had this cabin waiting for us when we got here. Please be grateful for the favors bestowed upon us.
During this time, racial discrimination was widespread, and minority workers were normally the first to lose jobs. The agricultural companies don't provide health care, and most doctors won't come into these migrant camps. All of this happens in the backdrop of the Great Depression. Another relevant event around that time is the Mexican Revolution, which happens a couple of decades earlier. War will cause families to be uprooted, but revolutions can cause a society to be uprooted. The Mexican Revolution caused social upheaval in Mexico, which led to an influx of Mexican migrants into the United States on a massive scale.
So many Mexicans have the revolution still in their blood. I am sympathetic to those who are striking, and I am sympathetic to those of us who want to keep working. We all want the same things, to eat and feed our children.
This in turn led to a large surplus of people looking for work in order to feed their families, and the wealthy people who these immigrants work for have no qualms about firing you and kicking you out of the camps if you complain about the conditions or ask for higher wages, because they can easily find someone who will work for less than you.
And now, more people are coming to the valley to look for work, especially from places like Oklahoma, where there is little work, little rain, and little hope. If the Mexicans strike, the big farms will simply hire others. Then what would we do?
In Esperanza Rising, several of the characters, including Marta, organized strikes to protest the deplorable working conditions and low pay. When the strikers get caught for causing disruptions, they get sent back to Mexico. And just like many people would think, Esperanza thought,
some of those people did not deserve their fate today. How was it that the United States could send people to Mexico who had never even lived there?
In March of 1929, the federal government passed the Deportation Act that gave counties the power to send a great number of Mexicans back to Mexico. Government officials thought that this would solve the unemployment associated with the Great Depression. It didn't. County officials in Los Angeles, California organized deportation trains, and the Immigration Bureau made sweeps in the San Fernando Valley and Los Angeles, arresting anyone who looked Mexican, regardless of whether or not they were citizens or in the United States legally. This was indicative of the overall racism in American society at the time. For example, Isabel wanted to be the queen of her school.
Has a Mexican girl ever been chosen Queen of the May? She asked Josefina. Josefina's face took on a disappointed look and she silently shook her head no. I have asked. They always find a way to choose a blonde, blue-eyed queen.
This can be applied to society today. If you turn on your television, you will not see a large number of Mexican Americans on TV, unless it's a Spanish channel. Or even when you go to the movie theater, there will usually never be a Mexican American on the big screen. While we have made progress through the years, we still have a ways to go.